a podcast host providing her top 10 recommended books, a returning romance author offering up some sultry writing tips, and an interview with a new author whose love for superheroes compelled him into creativity. This month we are uncovering Unsceret Identities, we are learning new skills, and we are going to be feasting on fandoms. I'm your host, Garrett K. Jones, and this is The Right Way. Hey, welcome back to The Right Way, where we talk book recommendations, author interviews, and creative writing tips. Now, if you haven't done so already, please make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, and click the bell for notifications on new videos. As always, I have a few new announcements before we jump into December's content. First up, last week was the December livestream, which focused on developing how you lay out foreshadowing and dropping clues for your readers leading up to a massive plot point reveal. Now, if you missed that video, you can find it up here in the card that just popped up above my head, or you can wait for the option to pop up at the end of the episode. Second, there is going to be a bit of a hiatus because of the holidays. There won't be any new content between today, December 21st, and Saturday, January 18th. But that doesn't mean there won't be anything cool happening, because I'll be prepping for those January episodes. On top of that, I will have another writing workshop the week prior to that episode dropping. Lastly, with holidays just around the corner, I want to let you know that I'm doing a special promotion on my books. Normally, I sell them directly for $15 each. While the individual price won't go down any, I'll be dropping a very special promo code, HOLIDAY, go figure, that can be used at checkout on my store on Square to get 15% off your total purchase. The best part about ordering directly from me is that you get signed copies. And if you're curious to see what the series is about, check out the trailer for Book 4, Hadron Corvus of Farfell. Callum, the twin brother of the Dragon Mist, has landed upon the island province of Farfell, an isolated spit of land with a past steeped in ancient secrets. He has been recruited by Asar il-Kadasur to retrieve something from antiquity, but Callum's wanderlust may have gotten him into a situation far beyond anything he ever expected. He faces demons and monsters while learning about how the Kadasur built creation. The question Callum has to ask himself is, what will he find next as he seeks out Hadron Corvus of Farfell? For the last 2 years, I've been a co-host on War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast. For the last year or so, we connected with a network called GNN, and after some internal changes, we are now a part of a new network called Feast of Fandoms. And looking for some great guest hosts, I reached out to my FOF pals, and our network guru, Holler, was willing to jump in and provide her personal book recommendations. So I hope you enjoy what she has to share.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Katrina, and I am part of a great geek organization called Feast of Fandoms. We cover and entertain you with all of your favorite fandoms across multiple genres, and that includes some of your favorite books, and maybe some of mine. Today, I'm going to go ahead and give you my top 10 reading list for fall and winter, and hopefully this is going to help you find that new read that you've been looking for. Starting at number 10, we're going to go ahead and start with Little Women. I know this is a classic. Many of us may have already read it, but it is a really great family tale that is just fabulous for reading during the holiday season. Number 9 on my list is The Bear and the Nightingale by Katherine Arden. This is a tale that's set in the snowy forests of medieval Russia. The book blends folklore and fantasy in the tale of a young woman protecting her family from ancient spirits. Number 8 on my list is the standalone fantasy novel Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. This is a reimagining of a tale similar to Rumpelstiltskin. It's set in a frosty landscape, talks about tales of resilience, and makes it a really great read for a winter's evening. Number 7 on the list is A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. Now you think Harkness, we all just got through watching Agatha, which we all adored. This is a little bit different than that, however. This is the first book in the All Souls trilogy. It is a paranormal romance that weaves together history, alchemy, a little bit of witchcraft, and a compelling tale of forbidden love and magical intrigue. Number 6 on my list is going to be The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This is a beautiful atmospheric novel that talks about a mysterious circus that only appears at night. It's filled with magic, romance, a touch of the surreal, and that's kind of what makes it fun and great for those chilly nights. Number 5 on my list is going to be Cyberpunk 2077's No Coincidence by Rafal. This cyberpunk story is going to take you into Night City with a group of strangers that have been brought together all by being blackmailed to pull off the heist of the century involving a Militech convoy that's transporting a mysterious cargo. So if you love cyberpunk as much as I do, not just the game, but the genre itself, if you're a fan of Blade Runner, cyberpunk, anything that's kind of that genre, definitely a must-read for you. Number 4 on the list is The Empress by Karen Miller. This is the first book in a trilogy about a family torn apart by poverty and violence that leads them to having their daughter sold into the slave trade, only to end up a powerful empress in a palace in a world called Majak. This is great for people who like Dune. It's set in a very similar landscape, little more mysticism, but it's that similar kind of dystopia that you see in the Dune universe. Number 3 on my list is The Mermaid's Apprentice by L. Palmer. This is a story about Mabel Sinclair and Antonio Cortez, whose lives were brought together in a really unique way. Mabel was just looking to escape her dull life and ends up becoming a pirate on the high seas. Antonio Cortez, he's just a sailor who dreams of returning to his quiet life as a tailor when their fates become intertwined due to a bargain that may have been made with a treacherous mermaid. Number 2 on my list is once again another book in a trilogy, and that book is Bodacious Creed by Jonathan Fesmire. This is a steampunk zombie western, kind of combines a few genres there, which makes it extra fun. This story is going to follow U.S. Marshal James Creed as he seeks justice against the outlaws that killed his wife and daughter. I don't want to spoil too much of you, but like I said, this is the first book in the trilogy. If you like westerns or you like steampunk, this is really a great, fun read. Number 1 for me as far as a fall and winter read is going to be the Dark Tower series by Stephen King. I know that many of my previous recommendations are from authors that you may or may have not may not be as well known as Stephen King is, but the Dark series Tower spans over 9 books, which is part of why it makes it great for summer and winter reading, because you are spending more time indoors. This is a story that's going to take you through the lives of 5 characters that are brought together from different universes, all by an evil, treacherous force that's looking to destroy all of these worlds. And they must work together, even though they come from very different backgrounds, to stop that evil force. So this is my top 10. Is there anything I missed? Anything that you think would be a great winter read? Or do you just have a favorite? Comment in the video and let everybody here at The Right Way know exactly what it is that you're reading. Until next time, everybody, have a great day.
A big thank you goes out to Kat for being this month's Top 10s presenter. Now, if you want to connect with her on Feast of Fandoms, you'll find those links down in the video description. And if you're interested in the books that she's recommended this month, you can also find those in the video description with their ISBN numbers listed. It's no secret that I'm a huge fan of comic books and superheroes. In fact, the characters in my books started out as modern-day superheroes and villains, but I found that they worked better as fantasy characters. My December interviewee stuck to his guns, and while, like me, his art skills weren't as strong as his storytelling skills, he was able to thread together a world where superpowers exist and what happens when one young man discovers he has the ability to fly. Please join me in welcoming Jon McBrine, author of Unsceret Identity. All right, Jon, welcome to the show. It's great to have you.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be on your show today.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. So tell me about what your work is and what you write.
So I work in mainly YA sci-fi. I focus more on the superhero thing, and I would say what sets me apart, at least what I thought set me apart, was that I write clean. I was actually very happy to discover that there's a lot of clean fiction writers out there. There are as many of them, which is very exciting for me. And what my main book is, it actually got released on paperback today as of this recording, which I'm very happy. There's a story with that as well. It's the YA superhero adventure about a teenager who discovers he can fly, and it is a mix of coming of age, mix of action adventure. First book in a series, and I'm pretty excited about it.
How did you get into writing? Was this something that you've always wanted to do, or did you just woke up 6 years ago and you're like, you know what, I want to write a book?
And I began seriously, I say seriously, air quotes, writing in 2018, even though, like many authors, we're kind of writing throughout our entire lives, basically. But when I would say the serious start to the writing began in 2018, and it's kind of, I consider that to be a long time to get a book out, but then again, it varies. Some people spend decades. I mean, it's ridiculous. It can be a while.
What are some of your inspirations for writing?
I would say what inspired me to write it, I guess I'll just go into that, is that when you have one of these childhood ideas and they just float around in your brain for years and years and years, you got to get it out one way or the other. And the trick to that is refining it and making it a story that other humans would actually want to read, and not just you. I had a friend who I'd known a long time who kind of got into writing. I wasn't aware that this person was even kind of doing that. Like, kind of knew, kind of didn't. And they were like supportive of me. They knew my interests, my creative interests and pursuits and things like that. And so they're like, hey, you should give it a go. And so I wrote this little short story just to kind of give it a go, seeing how, test the waters. Like, okay, if I'm going to have like a real go at this, I got to actually have to like practice a little bit, and so thankfully I had a very supportive friend who was at the times like, hey, just give it a go, give it a whirl, and been off to the races ever since then.
What were some of the inspirations? Because obviously you were fed by other comic book superheroes.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the heavy hitters, growing up, you got your Batman, the Superman, all of the classics. And when I was a kid, I was more into Marvel. So I was reading the X-Men, some Avengers, some Hulk, a lot of Spider-Man and stuff like that. And as I grew older, I just, for some reason, gravitated more towards DC. I love Superman, obviously, the flying superhero bit, I'm a fan. But I feel Batman more often than not, maybe because writers want to write for Batman, or I don't know, maybe the editors or DC just has more money to throw at the better writers. I just feel that Batman more often than not gets the better writers most of the time.
So what's been one of the biggest challenges or the hardest parts of working on these projects for you?
So the biggest challenge is time. I know not having a lot of time for many authors, indie or not, really big time, big famous authors or indie, time is always going to be your biggest enemy, I think. So that's sort of like a more understandable, reasonable, like you could say, like, I don't have enough time to write, or when I do write, I'm not disciplined enough. I got to stop doom scrolling on Instagram. Like a lot of common problems that authors have, or I didn't meet my word count for the day. And sometimes at the end of the day, after working and having your family, that pesky family, and you know what I mean, that pesky friends and pesky social commitments, at the end of the day, or doing just laundry and other household chores, whatever, all the boring stuff. At the end of the day, sometimes it's like, okay, I wrote 3 words. I have to go to sleep now because you're just so exhausted, mentally just spent, right? And I think that leads to what perhaps, at least for me, is a bigger obstacle is this weird kind of feeling of shame. And what I mean by that is I will see other authors I know or respect or admire. They're like, I wrote another 1,000 words today, or oh, book 3 is coming out, and meanwhile I'm like struggling with book 1, and I'm like, ugh. It's that compare and despair thing that,
Oh yeah.
and the imposter syndrome, which to me is one of the most annoying. I don't even know what you want to call it because it's such a weird. It's like being consciously aware that it's not true, and yet you're still stuck with the feelings of, oh man, I didn't really. Oh man, I'm going to be so. I'm the laughing stock of these other Instagram authors. They look at me like I'm not doing enough. This is why I enjoy talking to other authors because there's this shared grievance I think we have of, it's this thing we love, and yet when we finally have time to do it or whatever, it can sometimes be the last thing we feel like doing.
Real quickly, Jon, what advice can you give other would-be authors out there who are watching this interview and are wanting to get some insight from you?
Well, my fellow would-be authors, I would say just to keep on going. That sounds very simple and a little bit too simplistic, but honestly, it is the truth. It is the most universal thing I've come across is that probably have times, even if you have this drive within you, like, I just got to tell this story. I got to do something.
We're coming up on time here, Jon. How can people get a hold of you? How can they get connected, and how can they get copies of your work?
So the easiest thing to do is just go to jonmcbrine.com. And on I'm all over the place on socials, but the biggest one is probably Instagram. It's at Jon_McBrine_author. Got to get those underscores in there. Just love me some underscores. And then from there, you'll get the link to the Amazon page, and you'll see the what is now the ebook version if you want to read on your Kindle app on your Kindle device, tablet, or phone, or if you want to order the first print edition for the paperback, you can read that as well. So easiest way to do is probably just go to jonmcbrine.com. You get to see my face.
Well, Jon, thank you for being a part of this interview. It's been a pleasure to have you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you to Jon, this month's Author Awareness interviewee. Now, if you want to get copies of his work or connect with him through social media, you'll find all of those links down below. So last month, you got to hear writing tips from science fiction author S.M. Warlow. He provided a great set of tips for structuring and planning your story and manuscript. This month, I have romance author Thea Landen bringing you something that I hope helps you continue your writing journey this holiday season.
Hi everyone, it's Thea Landen, author of Sultry Stories to Enchant and Excite. Today I will be talking about everyone's least favorite topic, money and how best to spend it as you embark on your publishing journey. First, a quick recap. As I'm sure we all know, there are multiple paths to getting something published. First, you have the traditional publishing route, where you submit your book to an agent, they turn around and submit it to publishers for their consideration, and the publishing house takes on the majority of the work, as well they should. Then there is self-publishing, where you are responsible for everything. Then finally, there's sort of the middle-of-the-road option, the smaller indie presses, where they do a lot of the work, but you're still responsible for making sure people hear about what you've written. All of these are valid. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise. For my personal experience, I started off with these smaller indie presses before doing more on my own. And today, when I'm talking about that topic, nobody really likes to talk about money, I'm going to be talking about self-publishing. We are also going to be working off the assumption that you are not living off an unlimited trust fund or anything like that, and your resources do have a limit to them. So, money. Assuming you have a moderate amount to spend, where can it do the best work for you? All right, on to our first topic, editing. You need an editor. You are probably going to need to pay for an editor unless you have an editing friend who is willing to give you a little bit of a discount. Now, very rarely do I speak in absolutes, but I'm going to do so here. Do not publish anything, especially if you've never published anything before. Do not publish anything without at least one completely objective set of eyes going over it. Again, here, your friend giving you a discount might not be the best option. But if you are putting your book out there for the world to see, and it's got spelling mistakes, grammar mistakes, people are forgiving about plot, that's kind of subjective. But if it looks unedited, people are going to put it down right away, and they're not going to give you a second chance. They're not going to buy your next book either. So you need an editor, and do not be afraid to pay for an editor. This is some of the best money you can spend when you're working to get your book published. Next up, cover design. This one is really important because this is what's selling your book to people at first glance. They might not even look at the blurb if your cover looks like garbage. Now, can you do this one on your own without spending a lot? Maybe. This one kind of has a wide spectrum. If you are decent at graphic design elsewhere and you want to give it a try, I'm not going to tell you not to. Just make sure you're really, really in tune with what the standards of your genre are. If you think you have this great artistic vision, but it doesn't look like any of the other books in your genre, you are not going to be applauded for your thinking outside the box and your great wild ideas. No, readers want to know what they are getting by looking at your book cover. Now, as I said, can you do this on your own? Maybe. Pay attention to fonts. Pay attention to how well you can read those fonts. Images, too. Got to be careful there. What is it really conveying? On those two topics, images and fonts, you need to be really, really careful with licenses. Yes, sometimes that costs money, but you do not want someone suing you and taking away all of the money you have made off your book. Now, if you are new at this and you don't want to get involved in any of that legal garbage or picking colors or any of that stuff that some people enjoy, some people don't, this is a great place to outsource. There are so many cover designers who know what they are doing and will give you a brilliant final project. And a lot of them have a wide price range. Trust me, I am not going to sit here and tell you that for your very first book, you need to go out and pay someone $5,000 for a beautifully handcrafted, original, one-of-a-kind, no one's book cover will ever look like this again cover. You don't need to spend that much. However, to make sure that you're getting off on the right foot, this is money that's well spent. Ooh, now we're getting to the controversial part. Ready for it? Formatting. And this is probably where I'm going to get some hate mail about my views, but that's okay because I'm not going to read it. So, formatting. Again, if you want to outsource this and have someone do it for you and you don't need to worry about it, that is a perfectly reasonable solution. And again, like the cover design, you have a wide range of prices. I'm not going to tell you who's better than who. You can do your own research and decide on your own. But formatting is an area where if you have the patience, you can definitely do it on your own without spending a lot. Now, we sort of have two different things going on here. We have the ebook version and we have the physical version, whether it be paperback or hardcover. Now, again, I'm not really a person who talks in absolutes, so you can just consider this a strong suggestion. Don't pay money for someone to format your ebook for you. You could do it. I promise. If, for example, you're going through Amazon, their step-by-step guide is dead on accurate, no problems. Follow it perfectly, step by step by step, and you will have an ebook that is ready to go, no problems. Now, one of the reasons that ebook is so relatively simple is you actually don't want a whole lot going on there. Like, yes, we've all seen all the books with the fancy chapter headings and whatnot. Save that for the paperback, and here's why. Number one, People have their own e-readers. They read on their phone. They can do whatever they want with their settings. So whatever you put into your file, they can change it. Don't worry about it. They just want basic naked text. They just want to see the words, make sure they're formatted kind of nicely, no weird spacing issues, anything like that. But you don't have to go all out there. Also, another interesting point is if you put in all those fancy graphics that you don't really need for the ebook version, retailers like Amazon will charge you more for, quote, delivery fees. It's based on the size of the file. And again, most people reading on ebook don't really care about that sort of thing. So for your ebooks, keep the formatting simple. And again, the simpler it is, the more likely it is that you can do it yourself. Now the part where I'm really going to get the hate mail that I'm not going to read, paperback formatting. Now, again, to start off with, you can absolutely outsource this. If you want to pay someone else to do it, that's fine. They will do a great job. If you are concerned about the amount of money you are spending to get your book published, you don't really need to spend a lot. Now, there are plenty of programs out there that are specifically book formatting software. I'm sure they are great. People love them. I'm not going to tell you not to use them. If you've heard great reviews, if you've seen your friends' books and they look exactly how you want your books to look, go get them. It's fine. This is where I get the hate mail. If you already have a copy of, say, Microsoft Word sitting around and you don't have to pay extra to use it, you can format your paperback in Word. People will yell at me. People will say, oh, it's going to look unprofessional. No, they're wrong. I've done it plenty of times. So many of my friends have done it plenty of times. Now, is it the most intuitive program to use for paperback formatting? Your first time out, you might be pulling out your hair. I certainly was. I said a lot of bad words the first time I ever set out to format a paperback on my own. But I just want to tell you that it is doable. If you're looking at a place to cut corners financially, this might be one of them. Again, a little finicky at times, a little frustrating. If you decide you don't want to deal with the headache and just want to pay someone else to do it, again, sure, go for it. I won't be mad at you. You don't need to care if I'm mad at you, but go for it. But it is possible to format a paperback and make it look really nice and put in all the little chapter heading graphics we talked about and everything. You can do it in Word if you already own it, and you do not need to spend extra money there. And again, if you disagree with me and send me hate mail, I don't really care. The last budget item on our list is advertising, and I'm going to label that one with an not yet. I really don't think you need to spend money on advertising right off the bat. Now, it's true what they say, one of the best free things you can do, and I hate this as much as everyone else, start building your social media presence, because while it's annoying, it is free, and it's a good way to start getting people's eyes on you and your work and everything you have to offer. Once people start reading and once you hopefully get some good reviews coming in, then if you want to play around with some Facebook ads or Amazon ads, go for it. But as a very, very first thing to do when you first publish your book, I really don't recommend spending your money there. And I think that just about wraps up our little chat where I tell you how I think you should be spending your money. If you have any other questions, or if you want to send me that hate mail I'm not going to read, or if you just want to talk about whatever's on your mind, you can find me at most of the big social media sites or at TheaLanden.com.
A big thank you goes out to Thea Landen for being my Creators Corner guest host during this month's full episode. Now, if you'd like to connect with her on social media or get copies of her work, you can find all of those links by visiting the video description. Hey, thanks for watching. Now, if you haven't done so by this point in the video, please make sure to like, subscribe, and click the bell for notifications on new videos just like this one. If you're interested in being a channel supporter, you can find those links for Patreon and the merch store on Teespring, or if you'd like to make a one-time donation, you can find my link for Cash App. Make sure to tune in just a few weeks when the January episode airs at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Saturday, January 18th. Until then, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and have a Festivus for the rest of us.